Why are young Canadians angry? 4 reasons for the rebellion. In the modern social landscape of Canada, a visible gap is forming between generations. This isn't merely about differences in life experiences or the natural evolution of time. Today's youth, especially those born after 1980, are experiencing a significant decline in happiness levels. This stands in stark contrast to previous generations, who seem to enjoy higher levels of life satisfaction. Is the issue solely due to the skyrocketing housing market weighing down on the younger generation? While that's partially true, it only scratches the surface. Behind this anger lies deeper, more complex causes that extend beyond financial struggles or home ownership. Recent polls and personal conversations with young Canadians reveal an unexpected perspective. Their dissatisfaction isn't just about failing to buy a home, but also stems from mounting pressures and sweeping societal changes. The challenges faced by today's youth are unlike anything previous generations have encountered. Advances in technology, rapid changes in the workplace and society, and ever-growing expectations have created a perfect storm, leaving them stressed and insecure. These factors not only lead to frustration, but also fuel a simmering anger, making them feel abandoned in their own society. This issue isn't confined to Canada. This trend is spreading across Western nations, signaling a generational crisis. What's the real cause? Is it the invisible pressures of modern technology and society, or the unrealistic expectations imposed by older generations? In today's video, we'll dive deeper to better understand why a generation with more opportunities than ever feels lost in an unstable world. Reason 1. The impact of technology on young Canadians. Modern technology profoundly influences how young Canadians shape their lives, and this impact isn't always positive. Technological advancements from social media to dating apps have entirely reshaped how young people connect with the world, often with troubling consequences. Social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat, initially seen as tools for bringing people closer, have become enormous sources of pressure. Young people are trapped in a cycle of unrealistic standards where self-worth is measured by likes, comments, or views. This pressure distorts their self-perception and pushes them toward risky behaviors to gain online recognition. The constant pursuit of dopamine, hits from digital interactions, not only undermines mental health, but also warps their understanding of real-life values. Meanwhile, dating apps paint a different yet equally challenging picture. Platforms like Tinder and Bumble have transformed relationships from natural, in-person encounters into a competitive game based on appearances. This gamification of love creates an uneven playing field, where a select few with standout looks dominate while the majority struggle with rejection and isolation. This dynamic hits men especially hard, leaving many feeling lost in their pursuit of meaningful relationships. Additionally, the widespread use of technology has significantly reduced in-person social interactions. Instead of calling friends to meet up or participating in outdoor activities, young people seem glued to their screens, communicating via texts, sharing memes, or engaging in group chats online. This shift not only diminishes meaningful interactions, but also increases feelings of isolation, impulsivity, and sometimes aggression. Screens have gradually replaced real-world connections, leaving many feeling disconnected from the world around them. All these factors create a perfect storm, pushing young Canadians toward dissatisfaction and anger. As technology continues to evolve, understanding and addressing these negative impacts isn't just an individual responsibility, but a societal mission to foster a happier, more balanced generation. Reason 2. Gender imbalance in Canada. The gender imbalance in Canada is becoming a significant factor contributing to the discontent and anger among young people. This isn't merely a demographic phenomenon, but reflects complex social and psychological challenges faced by the younger generation. To address challenges related to an aging population, the Canadian government has implemented policies to attract more young people, especially those of working age. While these policies strengthen the economy and workforce, they've also led to significant gender disparities. A country that once maintained a relatively balanced gender ratio since the 1970s now sees about 141,000 more men than women in the 25 to 44 age group. This imbalance is even more pronounced among 20 to 29-year-olds, where men outnumber women by 9%. This issue isn't just about numbers, but also brings significant social consequences. Young men, particularly those without stable social roles like marriage or home ownership, are more likely to feel isolated. The lack of traditional roles and economic opportunities contributes to psychological instability, increasing the likelihood of engaging in negative behaviors or even criminal activities. This isn't mere speculation. An unpublished RCMP report has warned of simmering resentment among men under 30, largely stemming from the feeling that the dream of home ownership, a symbol of financial and social stability, is becoming increasingly unattainable. This sentiment is exacerbated by the reality that stability in personal relationships often correlates with financial and social stability. As opportunities to establish independent households decrease, many young people delay or entirely forgo starting families. This shifts traditional community structures and further amplifies feelings of isolation, frustration, and anger, particularly among men. Moreover, this demographic shift isn't just a current challenge, but raises significant questions about the future. Without timely and comprehensive policy adjustments, Canada could face growing social unrest. These policies must address not just the numbers, like gender ratios, but also focus on improving quality of life, economic opportunities, and support for stable personal relationships. The impacts of this gender and demographic imbalance go beyond dry statistics, touching on the core of social stability and harmony. Finding sustainable solutions is urgent, not only to address the current discontent among young people, but also to ensure a future where everyone feels they have a place and value in the community. Reason 3. Canada's escalating housing affordability crisis. The escalating housing affordability crisis in Canada has become one of the most pressing issues, deeply impacting the economy, social structures, and the sense of stability among young people. As home ownership, once seen as a critical milestone of adulthood, becomes increasingly unattainable, the anger and frustration of young Canadians are reaching new heights. According to an RCMP report, housing unaffordability is listed as one of the greatest threats to Canadians over the next decade. Housing isn't just a basic need, but a symbol of stability and an opportunity to build a family. However, with skyrocketing prices and limited supply, many young people feel robbed of this opportunity. Unresolved frustration risks turning into serious social unrest as young people feel abandoned by a system that doesn't support them. Across Canada's major cities, the growing visibility of tent communities highlights the housing crisis. These makeshift settlements are not just signs of a lack of affordable housing, but also reflect the desperation of thousands of Canadians teetering on the edge of financial ruin. For many, the absence of stable housing means losing a sense of safety and faith in the future. When the feeling of having nothing to lose takes over, dissatisfaction can quickly escalate into strong resistance, or, at the very least, growing collective anger. Access to affordable housing is further complicated by the fact that such options are often limited to remote areas with fewer economic opportunities. In contrast, urban centers with abundant job prospects are dominated by exorbitant housing prices, making it nearly impossible for young people to live close to work. This creates a vicious cycle where the pursuit of stability becomes unachievable, trapping them in prolonged precariousness. This crisis demands urgent intervention through government policies and creative solutions to drive real change. Without action, the dream of home ownership will remain a distant mirage for millions of young people, deepening their discontent and increasing the risk of social instability. Necessary changes include not only increasing the housing supply, but also restructuring societal support and opportunity distribution to ensure everyone feels they have a place in the community. Reason 4. Declining purchasing power among young Canadians. The declining purchasing power of young Canadians is a critical factor fueling their anger and dissatisfaction. The dream of owning a home, once within reach for previous generations, now feels unattainable for today's youth. Gone are the days when saving $50,000 could buy a spacious house. Now, that amount barely covers the cost of a new truck. This reflects a significant erosion of purchasing power, affecting not just home ownership, but the overall quality of life for an entire generation. This decline isn't due to a single factor, but is the result of compounding issues. Rising inflation, driven by massive government spending post-COVID-19, has devalued the Canadian dollar. While these measures aim to stabilize the economy during a crisis, they've also caused living costs to soar, making everything from food to housing more expensive. Moreover, high interest rates introduced by the Bank of Canada to curb inflation have worsened the situation. Borrowing has become costlier, and with rising mortgage rates, young people face challenges not only in buying homes, but even in maintaining a basic standard of living. Canada's productivity also lags behind other developed nations, particularly the US. Canadian workers generate less value per hour worked, making it harder for businesses to expand or offer higher wages. This stagnation of per capita GDP slows economic growth, limiting opportunities to increase purchasing power nationwide. Compounding the issue is a lack of innovation and technological advancement in many sectors, exacerbating stagnation. As the economy fails to produce major breakthroughs or new growth opportunities, young people face a job market with limited prospects, wages that fail to keep up with rising living costs, and almost non-existent long-term investment opportunities. The result is a grim outlook for young Canadians. The erosion of purchasing power doesn't just impact finances, but also diminishes confidence in the future, creating widespread feelings of helplessness and frustration. This isn't just an economic issue, but also a social and psychological crisis, as it reshapes how an entire generation defines success, stability, and happiness. Addressing this crisis requires a comprehensive and sustained effort. The government needs to implement policies to boost labor productivity, encourage innovation, and adopt new technologies while balancing economic growth with financial support for struggling youth. Without such actions, declining purchasing power will continue to deepen discontent, push Canadian society toward greater instability, and leave a legacy of hardship for future generations. Conclusion. As we've seen, the challenges facing Canada's youth today are not just temporary hurdles, but systemic issues deeply rooted in society. From gender imbalances to an escalating housing crisis, from the negative impacts of technology to declining purchasing power, these factors collectively fuel feelings of disappointment, dissatisfaction, and even anger among the younger generation. This isn't just an individual story, but a societal problem demanding awareness and decisive solutions. For many young people, dreams of owning a home, building a family, and enjoying a stable life now seem more distant than ever. Current conditions severely limit their choices and opportunities, forcing them to consider alternative paths. Some adapt by changing their lifestyles, moving to lower-cost areas, or even emigrating in pursuit of better job prospects. These choices are not only rational solutions, but increasingly common ones. However, it's crucial not to stop at individual responses. These issues must be addressed systemically through comprehensive policies, from improving access to housing and purchasing power to fostering innovation and boosting labor productivity. Canada must act to reshape a future where everyone, especially the younger generation, can truly live the Canadian dream they deserve. The journey toward change isn't easy, but with the right determination and actions, this could be an opportunity to turn today's challenges into a foundation for a fairer, more sustainable, and prosperous society. Whether we seize this opportunity depends on the decisions both individuals and society make in the coming years.